Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It is a long weekend here in Canada, so if you are celebrating the long weekend, kudos to you. I hope your hot dogs and your burgers taste delicious. And for today's live stream, I have the lovely Karim Soliman. Thank you so much for joining me, Karim.
Hello, Kay, and hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I just realized I have been on panels before with other fellow authors, but I guess this is my first solo interview. So
Oh,
tonight we're having a full dose of me. Hopefully, it's a light dose for your viewers.
oh, it'll be fantastic. If the conversation in the backstage was anything to go by, we're in for a good time. So And very interesting, it's your first interview, a solo interview, because you said you've done panels.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I always find that fascinating because it's I would imagine quite different from my own experience even to be on a panel rather than being the sole interviewee. You have a lot more time to go in depth with your comments and your thoughts than you would in a panel.
Yeah, but in panel, you got a lot of rest, a lot of time to get some rest. And sometimes when a
Yeah,
question is being asked to other fellow authors, you have all the day to think, for
that's
answer
true.
and drink your water and have a nice time.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. We'll keep you on your toes here, Karim.
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. So I'd love to start off with a congratulations on your recent release, which I have here,
Yeah,
which
nice.
is A Ballad of
Great.
Vengeance with that epic cover.
Yeah, thank you so much. I
How
see.
has the launch gone?
So far, so good. The reception so far, the reviews
Good.
are trickling in. I have played the long game there with this. Now this is like my 12th launch. I've
Wow.
tried things differently here, although the book was almost ready like 6 months ago. But obviously, because I started sending arcs like
Yeah.
six or even more than that. But I am trying something maybe related to the new. I'm trying to keep up with the Amazon algorithm to keep the book one and book two close to each other. Hopefully, because that's what worked for me for the first my first series, The Warrior's Path, and its sequels. I released the whole series in like 6 months or 7 months, and it was my best launch ever.
Yeah.
I like broke even in before my first year for the four books, and still it's still my bestseller so far. So I thought maybe the Zone's algorithms will love me and love my books. Obviously, if I release my books close to each other, I hope, of course, this will. I hope my readers will love this because I know they want to wait for too long between the books.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying, and we'll see what happens.
Well, we'll have to get a report back from you and see what ends up happening because that's wonderful to hear the first series you did was well received in the what should we call it, the algorithm, the mighty algorithm of Amazon, because it almost, I don't know if it's the same as YouTube, but YouTube, it's a kind of hit or miss. You can do your best, but what works one time might not work the next.
I think it's
Um,
the same. I can say the same about Amazon. I have been published like for now how many years now? 7 years.
wow,
Uh,
yeah.
it's a different and what used to work with me in the past. Maybe I won't say it doesn't work at all, but I need now more effort. I need to try
Mm,
more, streams of exposure. Previously, I had no strong presence on social media on whatsoever. I had a
right.
Twitter account, but it was like a dead account for like 10 years, just following Cristiano Ronaldo's news, and that's it. But
Yeah.
I started to be active starting from Spiffbo. And I guess
Ah,
Spiffbo was, my real introduction to this amazing and lovely community of fantasy reviewers and bloggers. Everything has changed for me dramatically especially with that book that I spy behind you, The Army of the Cursed. Yeah,
Yes.
that semi-finalist. No wonder it's my favorite child. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Oh,
I'm
we've got
proud of you,
favorites
son.
now.
I'm proud. I think I have it. I have it. Where
Yeah.
is my the pride of Karim Soliman? Yeah, this one.
Yes, there you go.
This one. Yeah.
And this is the one you said you did back to back pretty much for releases that performed well?
Actually, this is my second series. What the one that I did
Oh,
back to back was the Warrior's Path.
okay.
This one I did it because at that time I had the series. I did it. It wasn't planned from the beginning because I had the
Mm,
whole series like written before
yeah,
releasing it, and I started releasing the books one by one, like in a span of 6 or 7 months. And you know what, with very minimal advertising, the books were flying. You
yeah.
know,
We love to
uh,
hear it.
yeah, it's an experience that I'm trying to copy. To be honest, with Army of the Cursed, I was expecting, or I thought that with the better reception, because now I had something that I didn't have in the beginning, which is I didn't have any support from.
Right?
I didn't have any presence with reviewers and that, and no. It was just advertising in the beginning, but now I saw with Army of the Cursed, this will give me an extra push. But Amazon, the algorithm of Amazon's, they changed it a lot, and it was
Yeah.
a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, it's tricky when it comes to those algorithms because they update them so often. What worked one day won't work the next. And then, yeah, the whole scene in the YouTube and BookTube community, reviewing community changes frequently because there's different people that are popping up all the time. We have new reviewers coming out all the time, and then all of these competitions too. There's so much to keep track of. So, with what did you say, 13? No, you've got 13 or 16 publications under your belt.
12 full novels and a bunch of short stories and novellas.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, I'm writing now my 13th, lucky number
yeah.
13. So
There you go. You should put that as the caption, lucky number 13.
lucky number 13. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I imagine over the years that you've been writing, the entire reading community, the entire reviewing community has completely changed. Is that
Yeah.
true? Would you say that's true, or would you say
Yeah,
it's
a
pretty
lot.
similar?
I won't say in my day, not to sound too old, but I would say that, for instance, cozy fantasy was not that big as it is
Mm,
now. Now we have a lot of cozies,
yes.
but it's still, my genre, I write mainly epic fantasy, action packed epic fantasy with political intrigue. With
Yeah.
I won't label it as grim dark. It's sometimes
It's
described as
dark.
it's dark. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely dark. Just look at the covers. But it's fairly grim, as some of my reviewers have described it once. I love this label, fairly grim.
Yes.
I wasn't sure this was a praise or or a criticism, but okay, it's fairly grim. So
Yeah.
yeah, at that time, I think this genre at that time and now, I think this genre still have its solid fan base.
Mm.
And to be honest, I never thought at this until this moment that I should hop on the train of the cozy fantasy because it's now trending,
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
couldn't I couldn't find myself in it. I
Mm.
just there's always this advice: write to market or write what you love. But for me, you can write to market what you love, as
Yeah.
long as it's have a huge market for it. But uh, cozy, I'm not criticizing the genre. I'm really sure it's really cool, and I see nice covers. I love the covers, and I love and there are so many
Yeah.
people that I read this cozy fan, but no, it's not me. There
No,
will
that's fair.
there should be dead bodies. There should be swords. People
Yes.
killing each other.
There should be a cozy version of that. Just a war band going out, and you get those cozy moments of them around the fires in between battles.
I tried once that. I remember for which one of those stories that I found that I have written like a few, three more chapters, and nothing is happening. What is
Okay.
this? Let's bring a fight.
Yes.
Bringing them someone to fight.
Yeah.
So
You're in it for the action, you're in it for the, movement of it all and the battles. I love it. We have Anitha here with us. Good morning, Anitha.
hello,
Thanks for joining. And, Anitha, if you have any questions for Karim, please pop them in the chat, and we will definitely get to those. So in terms of all the works that you've written, we've talked a little bit of change over the years. When it comes to your previous works, to A Ballad of Vengeance, what did you find was the biggest change, if there was a change, in your writing, whether it was your process or your focus of themes, whether it was a change in the action? For you, did you find a change? And if so, what was it compared to your previous publications?
definitely there was a change on many aspects. In terms of my writing, I hope that it's getting better, but I feel it. When I sometimes go back and see my earlier works, I feel this improvement. I feel my voice is
Mm,
getting, there is more command in it. But also, speaking of themes, yeah, I write action, I write epic fantasy,
mm,
but every time I try to, I try to test something different.
mm,
And I said it once in one of the panels that sometimes you are not aware of what you are not sitting, when you are writing your story and you have this intention, hey, I'm going to write about this. Writing is a form of art, like painting, like
mm,
anything. It's just sometimes what you are going through and your background, what your current circumstances and everything happening in the world around you just pours down in your pages, and it happens, and you just realize afterward it this happened. In Army of the
mm,
Cursed, for instance, Army of the Cursed, the plan was to write something. I had this big idea of the end of the world and how the people will fight them, but
mm,
I just realized while I was writing that I, and maybe this is should maybe some people might notice it, that at that time, because if you remember my characters, most of them
mhm.
were young adults in their teenager age,
Yeah.
and at that time my daughter was in that phase, and
Oh.
I just realized that Nardine and Leila they are they have borrowed so many elements from Saja, my daughter at that time. She is like
Wow.
Leila in her, she's a bookworm like her, but she's
Mm,
headstrong like Nardine. And she was in that phase that she challenges and questions everything that you say.
yeah.
She's really smart, but she lacks the experience. So that's why you you don't know what to do with her. You want to advise her, but you in the same at the same time you want her to try and make mistakes and learn from her mistakes.
Yes.
And that's why naturally Word of the Last Day, I promise you, it wasn't planned. It just came like this. The characters came like this. They made
Yeah.
mistakes. And after that I finished, because Saja is like my secret alpha reader. I think she writes and reads more than better than me. So I
Oh,
trust her.
wow.
Yeah. So when she
Yeah.
was reading, she was like that. Layla, Layla, this is me, right? You are writing about me? No. You see that in the disclaimer, any coincidence with a real characters is any similarity is a real coincidence.
I love that you went back to the disclaimer for your answer.
So that
Ah,
was with War of the Last Day. In Ballad of Vengeance, for instance, um, because we are in that phase, without going into details, we're trying to stick together as a family. So it came like this. It's about a family,
yeah.
not just a young characters. we are bringing, the main characters are, have Akin is in his 50s, and Berna and
Mm.
his wife in his late 40s, and they're trying to keep their family together.
Yes.
So it was another theme that I wanted to test, maybe flavored with adding the Norse mythology and the Egyptian mythology. As an Egyptian myself, I
Yeah.
felt like, come on, Egyptian mythology is not represented enough. You have to make a
Yes.
stance. Yeah, and
No, it's an interesting blend, and I think it's a big seller when it comes to tagline, right? Not very often will you see Norse mythology with Egyptian mythology. So I'm really curious. I know you had that passion. Let's get that representation there, and come on for Egyptian. But where did the blending come in with the Norse?
I would say it. You can say that a lot of factors happened at the same time and ended at this combo.
Mm,
Let me get you to the story of the story.
mm.
Do we have time? I will tell you
Oh
the
yeah,
short version, like 7 hours only. So
yeah. No, you go for it.
it started when the one and only Dominish Books, Dom,
Yes.
he approached me for and told me about his great secret project, The Advent of Winter. And
Yeah.
the main thing was a winter theme, the setting to be
Mm,
in the winter. So at the same time, I was just finished playing God of War Ragnarok. It's no secret. Anyone who has read the book, he will notice the obvious inspiration from the game. I'm not denying it.
mm.
I'm
Yeah.
guilty as charged. So yeah, Akin is just a version of Kratos. It's just Egyptian, and he has
Yeah.
grandchildren, and his wife is alive. So
Yeah.
that's
Defining
yeah,
factor there.
yeah, that's the defining factor.
Yeah.
So I have the story was about to become a Norse, a pure Norse mythology, because the winter will fit more fitting. But I told myself, why not insert an Egyptian element in it? And the trick was
Mm,
how to insert the Egyptian element in a Norse setting. So I came with the idea of an exiled Egyptian, or a former Egyptian assassin, who is escaping from his bloody past,
mm,
and put him in a Norse setting. So how do you justify his long stay in the North? He has to set family there. So he's
mm.
trying to have a normal life and have a family, but his family is not normal at all. As you say, Berna
Yeah.
is a one badass sorceress, and his children, his daughter Sigrun is a typical shield maiden.
Yep.
I love the shield maiden trope. And his son Yalmar is a warg, or how do you say it, warg or warg, like in Game of
I'm not.
Thrones.
I hear them however my brain pronounces them when I'm reading.
Those who can, he can, put himself in the minds of, can control animals and all
Mhm.
living creatures. So yeah, his family is not. I like this. I got this comment from many reviewers that this is a family that you don't want to mess up with.
Yes.
So yeah, I tried it with it. The reception was really promising. The Advent of Winter. I really loved the
Mm.
discussion of it on Dom's Discord, and that was one of the main reasons that encouraged me to make a novel and expand this world, because it came out of nowhere.
I love that it started with the short story and those themes, and you're like, "Yeah, you know what? We're doing it. We're we're doing what." So do you have an idea of how many books will be in the series?
Yeah, so for I guess it will be a duology,
Okay.
because I know it works well commercial wise when you have a longer series, but to be honest, if the story in my mind, I don't want to expand the story for the sake of expansion.
Mm,
I with the story that I have in mind, I think it will reach a satisfactory closure with book two.
mm.
And I guess it's better than we see people tired from more books for no reason.
Yeah.
So, but this depends on how long book two it is, because so far,
Right.
I usually I never stick to my writing, my word count goal. I set a hundred
Right.
thousand, it comes at 150. I set 150, it comes beyond. So we shall see how long this will take.
Well, and I think that's something to be, I guess, appreciative of. You're mindful of your own writing, your goals, but you're also mindful that you need to do justice by the story. And so you'll keep writing if you need to keep writing, but you're also mindful that you don't need to keep writing if it doesn't need a third book, right? Because I think that's a pitfall of many authors and stories where they start to fill pages with fluff just to keep a trilogy when it could be trimmed down, for example. I think that's something to be appreciated from the perspective of a reader, is that you're not necessarily going into this going, it's going to be a trilogy. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll fill the pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have John here with us, who is also an indie author. Go check out his books as well. Good morning, John. Thank you for joining us. And if you have questions for Karim, be sure to pop those through too.
Hello, Joan. The guest is my name is Karim, or guest, as whatever suits you.
So in terms of the Ballad of Vengeance, because I have a few questions. I started reading it yesterday. I got about 100 pages down yesterday, and it reads pretty quick and very smooth. You talked about that family dynamic of you don't want to mess with this family. And that Egyptian running to the north. Did he just book it as far north as he could? In terms of, because you and I had a conversation about this. I'm trying to tie in a couple things. You visited Canada in the winter. Why would you put your Egyptian character through an even worse winter in the north?
You got me there, Kay.
Yeah.
You know what? It's really an interesting point, because this is just what I was talking about. Sometimes you realize subconsciously that that's what sometimes what happened to you, or from stories that you hear in real life, you just put it in your books. But it came with it was no brainer. But I think you are in 100 page. You will see. I think in the later in the story, you will find an explanation
Okay.
for this. Why he because I think it's no secret. The story has a dual timeline, so we got to see Akin in the present, and we get to see his past in Egypt, or Kemet, as because by the way, Kemet is the original word in the ancient Egyptian language. So I think the version that I sent you, it doesn't have the glossary that I added just in the most recent version. I think I might add this version online. I added a glossary with all the terms from the Old Norse and the Old Egyptian language. So I have added, like the ancient Egyptian beer and the Egyptian coin, the debent, or the heneket. That's honey beer that the Egyptian, I think you might have went past this scene. So
and the blades. I remember there being a specific term for the blades as well.
The kopish,
the kopish. Yes.
The kopish. There are. It's sometimes I read that it might be derived from the Greek term kopis. Kopis, like it means sword in the ancient Greek. So, but I think maybe the Greeks have borrowed it from the ancient Egyptian. I'm not biased.
Never know.
I can never know, but they have this curved blade because they couldn't, in what happened in the real history, they couldn't, make it as the same figure that as we have now. They make the blades from copper, so it has to be curved like this.
Okay, interesting. So going back to, I know I'll get an answer as I keep reading. But how was your experience? So you wrote your main character stuck in this freezing north. How was your experience? Would you say it was comparable when you came to
it
Canada?
Was my journey to Canada. The thing is that I went to Canada in its very winter. I went it was Jan 2015. It was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And for me, you're bringing a person who the coldest thing that he has ever seen was like 4 degrees in Paris or something. But
Yeah.
I was excited and terrified at the same time, and it started with how much clothes should I pack, because and
Yeah.
how much layers should I be wearing, because I know that whatever, because I asked my Canadian friends, and I had my doubts, and I'm glad I had my doubts because come on, guys, you are used to your winter, so just
Yeah.
a t-shirt and a jacket, and that's it. And when I just arrived, they were receiving me with their t-shirts, and come on, it's like only six. I'm like, and it was just the start. For them, six is warm. You know what?
Yeah,
In
it
Egypt,
is.
when we see a single digit, when you see the single digit, it's panic.
Okay. Totally
Single
different mindset.
single digit is panic in Egypt in winter. Even in winter,
Right.
it's panic. So when I was looking at the weather forecast, and I found that what one day there was a warning at the my phone kept
Yeah.
bring me this warning that there is a snowstorm,
Yep.
and the temperature will reach minus 38.
Yep.
And I was
Oh,
like, hold on, minus 38. My freezer is minus 4 here. So I will be standing in something colder than my freezer. Why
yeah.
do you usually and why do you have freezers in Canada to begin with?
Well, in the winters, we actually use the outdoors. We'll get those sealed coolers, and we'll just put them outside on our decks. I know East Coast, if they get snow that covers their back doors, they'll just open the doors, stick their drinks inside the snow, and shut the doors. So we do use the outdoors as our freezers here.
It remind me this. I really did this. I remember that I brought some cherries and fruits, and
Mm,
I realized that the fridge in my hotel room, it was extremely small. So I thought that it makes sense, because why do you need a fridge in this weather? So I stuck the fruit, the package of the fruits to the glass window.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
so perfect
yep.
was.
Done deal.
Yeah, but it was, there was a, but here's the thing: you were indoors, in indoor houses or indoor everything in Canada. The heating system is awesome. So I
Yes.
was like wearing a t-shirt or a shirt, and I was fine, because in Egypt we don't have this kind. We are not our house is not equipped for winter.
Yes.
In Egypt we suffer from winter more than I was in Canada in indoors.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, because and you will hear this from those who have tried the Egyptian winter.
Yeah.
The temperature might not be this low, but you will feel the cold, getting through your bones with this
Yeesh.
exact expression. And I
Yeah.
don't know why, because I tried the same temperature in other. I think it's something has to do with the humidity,
Yes.
maybe, but
We have very
if
humid
the air is
winters here
scarce,
too.
I don't know. But again, back to Canada,
Yeah.
I couldn't go outside without wearing like I wouldn't say how many layers that I
Yeah.
have to wear before going outside. I remember there was one day uh, we were going to watch a hockey game,
Mm.
ice hockey. It was a life experience for me. I've never
Yeah.
been to something like that. But we went through. There is this sub. There are some. I discovered that there is like sub. There is a total world down. Under the ground,
Yeah.
and same with the same heating system. So I was just like this, and I was going down with my friends. And when I went back, I lost my friends, so I didn't know the way back to the hotel. And
Oh.
I just okay, let's get a taxi. But I just realized I'm just like this. How I'm going to go outside at
No.
night at
Yeah.
-10? So yeah, it was a nightmare.
Oh my God. Well, I'm so sorry that the the weather was so brutal when you came to visit, but unfortunately, that is pretty much a Canadian winter. I'd say a good 80% of it, 90% of it. We do have humid heat. We have a lot of like high humidity here. especially the area that you were visiting. You mentioned before, being Montreal, and Ottawa is the same. I'm just outside of Ottawa, and it's humid hot, and humid cold. So you when you get cold, it is bitter, bitter, ugly cold. And when it's hot, it's muggy and gross, and all you want is to be sitting in a pool of water with a cold drink.
Come on, how high the temperature
Uh,
goes?
Depending on areas, so I think last year, British Columbia hit the 40s with
Oh,
that high humidity, and Ottawa was in the high, like 38, 39, 40 as well.
okay.
It's been getting hotter and hotter over the years.
I never expected to hear 40 and Canada at the same sentence. So,
Yes. The summers are we basically have both extremes, which is terrible. We have both extremes, but because of that high humidity, the summers are just like, that sticky, gross heat that you get. That's our summers, unfortunately.
yeah,
That's what we live with.
shock, shocker for me. Yeah. But
Yeah. So
because the temperature and the weather is one aspect that I
mm,
pay attention to. I think it was Dom who highlighted this when he read the Ballad of Vengeance, because we
yeah,
see these two. We have the Norse, the cold Norse, and the hot Kemet, and
yeah.
because I have seen friends who are used to the cold, and when they come to the heat, it's a struggle. So
Yes.
you shouldn't forget that when you write story with different weather.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Yes.
Yeah, it's anywhere, anytime you're traveling, there's so much for you to adjust to, from the culture, the weather, to the food, you name it. So with that actually being mentioned, I'd love to talk about your desserts and your
Yeah.
favorite desserts, because since we're on this topic already,
Yeah.
of worlds and cultures, what is your current favorite dessert?
Current favorite desserts.
Oh, okay, we got plural. I like it.
Uh, to be honest, I'm trying to cut down my sugar consumption because
Mm,
it's not healthy. But I have to take a bite. I have to taste. I didn't cut it completely, but instead of eating like a half plate of chocolate cake or cheesecake, I have to take like one big slice or one big piece. So,
yeah,
but peas can
moderation.
be like this or like this. So
Still enjoy life, Karim.
it depends on how you define but I had discovered recently. I discovered this banana crumb, banana lotus banana pudding they are making
Oh,
here in Egypt. I just come fresh from. Of course, I put it in the fridge because the temperature is 40. So I
yeah.
brought it here, and it's I love it.
Oh,
There is anything with here's my secret combo for desserts.
mm,
And if put banana, chocolate, uh, add vanilla, of course, or cream.
yeah.
uh, any of course, nuts will be a nice flavor, and raisins. I know if Tiago I know that Tiago Abdallah hates the raisins, but
Yes.
on the contrary, I love raisins with
Yeah.
the yeah. My desserts are not like, I don't have them plain. I have a lot of things to be stuffed together. So
Yeah, as
I
it should. Make it even better. Layer it.
so what did you bring?
I did not bring a dessert with me because I was not that prepared, but
Uh-huh.
mainly too, it would melt. My favorite go-to dessert, especially as a base, is ice cream. You
Oh,
put
nice.
a nice vanilla ice cream with some fruit, caramel syrup, a little bit of chocolate, some whipped cream. You can add some nuts on there if you want, even. Just ice cream is so versatile. You can put it in so many different things, and you can turn it into a milkshake, you know?
Yeah.
It can take so many different forms. So I'd say ice cream is probably my go-to. Perfect for those gross summer days as well.
And here's the thing, that ice cream for us, it's like For me, it's not a dessert on its own. It's something that I eat with something else, like
Mm,
molten cake, for instance. I add ice cream with
yes.
the cake,
Yep.
and
We do
add,
that too.
yeah, and add banana, of course. And
Yep.
now the crazy thing now in Egypt is the pistachio. So the pistachio and the chocolate,
Oh,
and
yes.
with some Eastern. I don't know if I've tried the Eastern desserts like kunafa and basbousa. This is
Okay.
something you don't won't find where you live. This have you
Yeah.
have to come to try. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm just
I
happy just talking about this thing.
yeah.
Yeah, just feel
D- Food is delicious and should be enjoyed more.
there was one picture that my wife where we were outside, and there was this restaurant that has their unique desserts. It's not anything, and you can't find it anywhere. It was a mix. It was called Antica. It was a mix of custard and banana and cream and chocolate chips and custard. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
when the guy brought this in front of me, and I shall post this picture one day, because
Okay.
my wife caught me staring at this plate with the biggest, not the biggest smile. There was true love in on my face, and she told, you know what she told me after that, you never looked at me like this, you know. She was jealous of the Antica. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That you
how
know you
bad
have
my
a true love.
yeah, yeah, true love.
The difference is the dessert goes away in 5 minutes. So I am from based on the conversations with dessert, and we had talked before how you were like, don't know if I could do a cozy story. I could totally see you doing a cozy story about desserts, just the way you talk about them. you could you could write some kind of fantasy book all about desserts. Yeah.
Maybe I should. Yeah, it was a retired warrior who decided to make a restaurant, to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah.
and when someone interrupts one of his shipments, something about the sugar or something, this can work,
Yeah.
about the villain could be like the Lord of Bananas or something. Uh,
Like Zelda.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Here you go.
There you
So
go.
with a little brainstorming, we can work this out. It will be epic.
Absolutely, absolutely. He has to go back into the
We're
field
not
to get his
allowed to bring
bananas.
weapons. We're not allowed to bring weapons.
Oh, you're allowed to bring weapons, for sure.
Okay,
You can.
but this will
Yeah.
not violate the definition of cozy. Or
No, Legends and Lattes had a battle scene. It had one or two battle scenes. So I think the concept is that the stakes are much lower. So rather than the world being a devastating end of world apocalypse on, that's being threatened and these people have to go in and save the day, it's more
okay,
of a individual experience. Their past coming back to find them having to heal from their past or move on from their past, those kind of themes. It's more individualized to the character that you're following in terms of cozy fantasy, I think.
or simply cake fights.
Yeah. Pie to the face every now and again. Yeah.
Yeah, but it will be a painful scene for me to write someone throwing a cake. You know how painful this will be for me. I cannot.
From what I understand, the craft tortures.
I have seen in the World Wars, I have destroyed a whole continent, but to throw a cake on the floor, come on. You can be
And that
this harsh.
it sounds like you're perfect to write this kind of cozy fantasy then. You're the big guy comes out, who threw that? Okay, so I want to come back to your writing because I have more questions about your writing too.
Sure.
Um, in terms of your books, they generally, I've noticed, stay around 400 pages or just under.
Yeah, yeah.
And I am really curious if that is planned, if that's intentional, because I know some authors try and stay away from chunky books, and others love the chunky books. They're all in for it. So I'm curious if that 400-ish page mark is pre-planned.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's just how I felt that the story
Mm.
ends. I because of I don't know if it's because of my nature of my job. I'm obsessed always with numbers, and I always keep statistics of pages and word counts of all my books. So I have
Okay.
just noticed that I have the range from 60,000 to, like, most of my books around the 100,000. Reign of
Mhm.
Demons was like 170,000. I know this might be like a prologue for Ryan Cale, but yeah,
Mm.
for me it was the biggest thing that I've written. But again, with Ballad of Vengeance, it was like I felt that this is where the story naturally ends. I
Right.
didn't feel that I should add more. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, because and we are speaking of the planning process. My back to your previous question, what else, what have changed with you, has changed with your
Mm.
writing along the years? Of course, my one of the things that obviously has, I won't say improved, but it changed, it become really different, was the planning. And I
Mm.
think my biggest learning experience, because where my debut, for instance, I went from just sitting on a keyboard and write whatever comes through my mind. And in the later books, I just realized, hey, you just need to slow down. We have so many characters now,
Mm.
a lot is going on. But I was planning in the middle of the story. Or more the last
Mm.
day, I spent like a month doing nothing, sitting with myself, planning for the whole series,
Yeah.
how the starting point and the ending point, because there is so many characters. It was my biggest scale story so far. But again, with all this planning, I had like milestones to sit with myself and see. I have to plan for every like couple of chapters to make things go smoother. A Ballad of Vengeance was much
Okay.
easier to plan because I have only two main characters.
Right.
I won't say that I was almost bored, because I just
Mm.
realized I love it when you have like so many characters. But hopefully my readers
Okay.
won't feel this. But this is you can diagnose my case right now.
Yeah.
So again, I end where the story ends. I planned
Yeah.
the plot and I started writing. I thought it would end like around the 100,000 words mark. It ended like at the 95,000, and I thought this is fine. Don't need to expand more.
Yeah.
I expect that. That's why when you ask me about the second book, it might end. I guess it might end like at the 100 and 100, 120 or something. But
Okay.
we shall see. Because your question reminded me of something. When I was writing Tales of Gurania,
Mm.
it was originally, in my head, it was a trilogy,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was supposed to be a trilogy. But the thing
Yeah.
is, as I was writing, there was a lot is happening, and my characters have spoken, and
Mm.
because of their decisions, not mine, of course, and I couldn't trap everything in book three. So okay, we shall wait. Will have to wait for book four. So this is
Mhm.
one case that I was, I had this thought in my mind that it could be a trilogy, but it went further than I thought.
Yes, and I imagine there was a few factors that impacted that because, like you said, there's a lot of political intrigue in there as well as a wider cast. So to tie up everything neatly, it needed a bit more time.
Sure.
I am really curious. I'm gonna throw a fun question at you because
Okay.
as of right now, I know you don't have any audiobooks.
Hmm.
If you could do an audiobook and you had the pick of any narrator that would narrate your stories, do you know who you might pick?
It's a dream, of course, but Stephen Pacey, no
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy made me like hate every other audiobook that I listened afterward. I'm just kidding,
He
of
did
course.
his job.
It's he's I have never seen anybody in his craft with this
Mm.
much gap between him and his peers. I, um, you know what? I once wrote the only book that I read for Joe Abercrombie and just read as a book was
Yeah.
Ava King, and it was nice. But all of the first Low series and Age of Madness, I listened to Stephen. I can't imagine,
Yeah.
consuming Abercrombie's writing in any other form. It's
Yeah.
done deal. Everything that I will read for Joe Abercrombie, it will be by Stephen Pace's voice. He's so versatile. I don't know how he does this because there's so many characters, men, women, of different ages, and he literally breathes life into them. So
Yes.
if one day I'm so lucky to pick my audio narrator, it will be him.
Awesome. I love to hear it. It's one of those things that I find fascinating, similar to, like you said, having such a wide range of voices, the skill, the talent, the level of control they have to have with their vocal cords to get those different voices, then perform as an actor to portray exactly what those characters are feeling, but not overdo it because it's an audiobook. There's also a point where there's a difference between an audiobook and a graphic audio from what I've seen.
Yeah, I tried the graphic audio with two books for Michael Sullivan. It was a nice experience, by the way.
Yeah,
It's also
okay.
it was different. It was
Yeah.
different from and you see that it's like it reminds me because I used to again, I'm not that old. I don't want to say that I'm that old, but back in my day there used to be, we used to listen to radio,
Mhm.
movies and radio. There were plays that are done for specifically for movies. I'm not saying I'm not sure I can call it a movie, but it was something story done for specifically for the radio. So it reminded me of
Yeah.
this kind of media,
Yeah.
and it was interesting to be honest.
Okay.
No, yeah, I guess there is in terms of narration, it's not the same experience, of course. But
No.
you have this sound effects and the different voices. I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it. It was nice. It was.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I just find there's, a lot more, I guess, control with the audiobooks compared with the graphic audios, right? Like you said, they have a lot more sound effects, a lot more, but I think too, it's the, level of control that the narrator needs to keep. There's very I'm sure there's very specific rules behind all of that in terms of their pacing, in terms of their you can't have a audiobook narrator full on bawling, right? As an actor might in a movie. In comparison to that, they have to still give the effect that the character is crying without absolutely breaking down. That's
Yeah, yeah.
an important detail for that form of media. So, in terms of your own reading and your own listening, even, can you give us three books that you would recommend to those watching, and whether or not they're audiobooks, if you recommend the audiobook in versus the physical, for example?
So if I talk about, I will mention trad books and indie
Yep.
books because there
Sure.
are so many awesome indie books that I've been reading
Mm.
lately. So trad books, anything by Joe Abercrombie, I'm a big
Mm.
fan. Especially the first law and Age of Madness, even the standalone books. Whenever I find a chance, I rave about these books. It's
Mm.
um, of course they are not for everyone because
Yep.
especially in the first law it's very very character driven.
Mhm.
At some point that in the blade itself, you sometimes you wonder where the plot is, but
Yes.
things get more structured in the next books.
Mhm.
I think in Age of Madness he nailed everything. The plot was
Yes.
there, the characters were there. So it was awesome. But for a full experience, you have to go through the whole thing.
Yes.
It's from the whole books. Mark Lawrence is one of my favorite authors as well. Prince of Thorns
Mm.
was I think it's my first grim dark book that I read, and it made me
Okay.
love this genre. And
Mm,
then before that, I was I've never tried that anything of the genre. Prince of Thorns was madness. The most
okay.
insane anti. I'm not sure if I can call it anti-hero. He's a more it's a psychopath. The main character
Yeah.
is I'm talking about
I
the
th
main character, not Mark, of course.
yeah.
It's so
Be worried there if you were.
yeah. The main character, Georgie, or I'm not sure that the pronunciation is.
Mm.
It's Gorge. He's he's a psychopath, but somehow you keep reading and rooting for him. I'm not saying rooting, but
Yeah.
I didn't know why I was reading about this bastard, but it was
I get it.
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've read Anna Smith Sparks, Empires of the Dust trilogy.
lady,
It's
Queen.
brutal.
Yeah,
It's just utter fascination about these terrible people. I think that's really what keeps you reading is they're just horrible, horrible individuals. They do terrible things, but you just can't put it down.
she's on my must read. I've
Oh,
watched her once in live reading. Oof.
yeah.
I think she's the best. I never saw an author who perfected this reading her own book that I was
Yeah.
I was mesmerized just
Yeah.
by watching her read her own writing.
Yeah.
So definitely on my must read. I need to check her out.
I'd love to hear what you think of it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and of course Anthony Ryan, Blood Song. This
Yeah.
is one of my all-time favorites. Definitely my must check. John Gwynn, John Gwynn. He
Mhm.
writes so beautifully, so beautifully. And it came as a coincidence that while I was writing A Ballad of Vengeance, I was reading The Shadow of the Gods, and I just realized, noticed the similarities. I would say I won't dare to claim there is a similarity. Of course, is on another level, but the same, ambience, the same. But I love his writing, how his descriptions and
Yeah.
his characters. I think Orca is my favorite female main character ever,
Yes.
ever.
Yeah, she's a tough one to compare with others, because she's got that heart, but she's got a
Yeah,
hard edge to her, and it's just a balance you wouldn't think to find in such a devastating character.
yeah, yeah. She was one of my favorite, of course. Among the indies, there are so awesome indies that I've read and enjoyed. But I have to name three, and I think again there are so many awesome authors, but could be my personal taste.
Mm,
These authors, I would read anything they write. Zamil Akhtar. Zamil Akhtar
yeah.
is his writing is brilliant, but again his story is so dark. You will if you're familiar with the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, you will he has some scenes that you will feel that the Red Wedding is PG-7. So
Oh, jeez.
I told him one in his face. Well, he's one of the guys that I met face to face.
Okay.
His scenes are really mad. He's really mad.
Yeah.
So one of the smartest guys, by the way, that I've ever met.
Oh,
Uh,
fascinating.
so Gun Metal Gods, one of my all-time favorite indie books. Um, Joao Silva, Seeds of War.
Oh, yes.
That was again. I've read so many awesome books, but this one in particular, it
Mm,
hit. When you have this checklist and it hits all the marks.
yeah.
So Joao Silva, of course. I don't want to forget anybody because
It's
I read
hard,
so
isn't it?
yeah, there are so many awesome indie authors there. So many authors that I need to check out. I'm really curious to read. I'm currently reading, by the way, reading for Palmer Pickering.
Oh,
Yeah,
heliotrope.
Heliotrope.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
didn't read
love
the,
this.
I didn't read the blur, but when I started, it's a retired warrior trope. Come on,
Yep.
how how nobody told me, because this is a trope that I can never get enough of, and her
Yes.
writing is, she is. I don't know. Of course, I don't know her writing process, but she's. I can imagine from how she digs deep into her words. She is taking her
Mhm.
time in a very in a she's enjoying it. I'm savoring every every single scene. I know for
Love
some,
it.
I have to tell, of course you have seen Heliotrope is a slow burn. Of course, it's a slow burn,
Yep.
and maybe slow burn is not for everybody, but I'm one of those who like, uh, make me immersed in this world. So, and
Yes.
there's action, by the way. I'm not saying it's not cozy at all. There's action.
No.
There is like, I'm not to spoil anything, but it's
Mhm.
my kind of story, and I'm loving it. Of course, I've read her short story in the Advent of Winter, but
Yeah.
I'm really loving her full novel. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I absolutely love Heliotrope, and I will say, because I listened to the audiobook for it as well, I can't remember the narrator's name, but he does a phenomenal job
Wow.
narrating the story. I cannot hear Telio's voice any other way.
Uh,
Um, and I think another part of it that, I really it's similar to what you say, it's a slow burn, but, um, the way she handles big eventful what should be big eventful scenes and brings them down into a very intimate moment that makes it shocking still, without losing any of the impact, but just quieting it in a way rather than being a big boisterous fight, a loud thing. She quiets it down, and it still is just brutal and emotionally devastating. And I don't think that I've seen scenes portrayed quite like that since Heliotrope.
Yeah, yeah, and she has the
Yeah.
best horses as well.
Yes.
I've never felt for a horse before. Uh,
Mhm.
they have their own
Yeah.
persona. I think this is the first since if you have read what was it called by Michael Sullivan, Age of it was
Oh,
Age of Swords and Age. There was that was what was her name?
I haven't read it.
And when you one of your main one of your favorite characters is
Yes.
a pet wolf. It was
Yeah.
how do
So
you do that?
yeah, the rest of the cast can go. Just keep the
Yeah,
wolf.
yeah. How do you do that? So
Yeah.
and now I've noticed that whenever that's black, particular that black horse when
Yes.
comes into the scenes, I pay attention. What what is going to do.
Yes, we have to know what's gonna happen to this horse. Oh, I love to hear it. I'm glad you're having a good time with it. So something else, because I know we're coming to the hour mark here, so I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I have a couple more questions. One of them being your maps. They are beautiful, they're simplistic, the colors are fantastic. Who does your maps and how did you get them the way they are?
I do my maps
Mm,
myself,
good
and
on you.
here's the thing. I know this might sound cliche, but I've been obsessed with maps since I was a kid. I
Yeah.
remember I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I had this atlas. I was upset. I don't know what kind of a kid who would ask his parents for an atlas.
Right.
Um, I was just with the flag the flags. I was, like
Mm.
memorizing them, and I started to draw the continents myself. I remember that I drew a map for Africa
Oh,
with all
wow.
its countries. So I think that was the prologue.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ah,
I'm still here. My camera's playing
okay.
games
I
on me.
see this evil orange W. Bring K back.
Yeah. Let's see. You keep
So
going though with the maps. I'll try and figure this out.
I think it started there with Tales of Gurania. I Because obviously Tales of Granny and World of the Last Day, they were set in the same world, so I had to draw them. I think I might have them. The Let me bring it. I think it's. one of my notes there, the original version. It was, with the I start with the pen and pencil, and then I keep expanding it. But the final version, of course, is I use a software called Incarnate.
Okay.
It's free, but it's limited to a certain number of maps, and it gives you this. I like the final the final product is really nice, and because even when I'm reading, I remember when I was reading Game of Thrones, because I had the
Yeah.
when I was reading the whole series, I had every time I was reading, because there are so many cities. Whenever sometimes some readers complain that there are so many places and I don't remember where I am. Have you
Yeah.
read Game of Thrones? Come on, have you read the
Yeah.
books? Because that was one of the most detailed maps. It's like, I remember it was like 2 pages, bleeding
Yeah.
together, and I was enjoying. This was part of my the experience with Game of Thrones,
Mm.
that I was looking up where these characters are now, and where they are going, and where the houses are, and where is this is something that I'm obsessed with. So that's why I draw my maps. But because I thought it was not possible to put everything in one place, that's why you have 8 or 9 maps. I have
Right.
this big map for the whole continent, with the 6 kingdoms,
Yep.
and in the back you will have this zoomed map
Oh.
with each kingdom, which its main cities.
Yeah.
So I remember recently that I got a review appreciating this, and I was really happy that
That's awesome.
someone was paying attention. I remember another review in the past said, "You should have said that there are maps in the back, because
Now they need the book. They gotta know.
I finished the book now, and now you tell me there are 8 maps in the back." So I
Yeah.
think I should put like a warning. Hey, you might get lost. Check the directions in the back.
Yes.
So
See maps for reference. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, I know for myself when it comes to reading books, I will actually, especially fantasy, I will flip through the entire thing, like the front and the back, because usually an author will hide one or the other at either end of the book.
Mhm.
So I try and do my homework beforehand. I've even seen where some authors say, check my website for the maps and the glossaries because it would have been way too long to put in the book. So you're not alone. You've got plenty of colleagues out there who adore their maps and their glossaries and terminologies and everything too. Um, that's fascinating. It started at such a young age for you.
Yeah, I tell you what. Because speaking of the maps, that I use the map for my own planning process. I have always
Okay.
this. I keep draw my map. I'm not. Of course, you won't see any word, but this is how it looks like when I plan. Just
Okay.
rub the map, and I draw circles. This event will
Yeah.
happen there, and this character will go there and there. I know people write notes. Some people write sticky notes, but I'm always using maps and circles, and I love
Yeah.
to see where everything is happening and where are they going.
Yeah.
So, it works for me. So
Yeah. It sounds like you just need that visual aid to help you.
yeah,
Because I've also talked to authors who have written the book and then realized all these travel points don't make sense on a map when they try and make the map late after the fact. So it sounds like you're doing your due diligence as well to make sure it's all plotted properly along with the map.
I calculate. I had another software.
Mm,
What was because it was an old one, old auto. I think it was called Autorim or something. But I used it for measure, for scale. I had the same map there.
okay.
And because I want to make my travel, because I have lots of traveling, I have to
Yes.
make the traveling make sense.
Mhm.
And where a lone rider takes different time than we have an army, of course. For instance, army takes
Yeah.
more time, especially if they have infantry or siege weapons. So I keep this, and you might say that I'm crazy, but I I just told you earlier that I'm obsessed with Excel and numbers. So I use my Excel sheet as well and make my calculation to make sure that the
Oh,
events are
wow.
synchronized. So because I don't want, this arrives before this, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Of course, in a Ballad of Vengeance, it was easier because we have portal magic, so this solved a lot of problems. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that
timing and transport can be a little
yeah,
bit
it was much easier in a Ballad of Vengeance. So I don't have to
Yeah.
calculate anything. I just teleport,
Yes.
problem solved.
Don't have to, like, worry about 3 months travel on a boat.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know? Yeah, that's fascinating. When it comes to, because I know you said it, so you said it yourself, you have this, fascination too with numbers. Um, you also have degrees in pharmacy and business administration. How did you go from those 2 fields and mix that with writing? And then on top of it all, your bio also mentions that you struggle with insomnia, which is just
yeah.
an insane thing to handle, because even if I don't get if I miss 2 hours of sleep a night, I'm a wreck. So I can't imagine trying to live life and write and do all these things with the insomnia. And I just have so many questions.
So about the degree, I think the
Hmm.
question should be how I went from writing to pharmacy and business management.
Oh,
So
okay. So it was a different timeline there. Got
no,
you.
just writing started with me like really according to the urban myth, and you can ask can ask my parents that I started writing like I was 6 or 7 years old. Of
Okay.
course, they were not as advanced as now, but any blank block note or anything, I would just write whatever I'm reading. If I'm reading Mickey
Mm.
Mouse and Disney, I would write a story about it. When I grew up and started to read novels, not picture
Mm.
books, so I have to create my own. And I remember when we were at school and we made our own magazine for the class, and that was the phase when I was obsessed with comics. So I created my original superhero, Eagle Man,
Yeah.
because there are no eagles. I saw there are falcon and bats, so I created. But so with every phase, I was obsessed with writing. So then came college and university and work and so much boring stuff, and I almost stopped writing for like maybe a decade or more,
Wow. Yeah.
and I was just focusing on my career and went to business. Got was doing my degree for business administration. I have a master's degree, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but then one day there was a curfew in Cairo, like 12 years ago. It happened. It
Okay.
lasted like a month, and all of a sudden it was a very random moment. I don't know how it happened. I just opened the laptop and I started writing in
Oh,
English.
okay.
Because previously I used to write in Arabic.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and I should acknowledge my wife for this moment, because when she discovered my secret hobby, she could have called me a nerd, but instead she told me that there was a website, an app called Wattpad, to put my this
Yeah.
nonsense, and miraculously and magically, this stupid stuff get some traffic, and they hit. They had their own algorithm, and it was ranked like first, and for so many weeks. And after that, I was approached by them to write a story for. They had this campaign for a movie by Sony Pictures, and then suddenly everything became serious. No, someone is going
Yeah.
to pay for this stupid stuff that I'm writing. So why don't you take yourself seriously?
Right. Yeah,
So
you had a shift of mentality there.
yeah, this is. I know it's when I'm just going back there, I'm recalling all that happened in the past. It's really crazy because it wasn't planned at all.
Yeah.
And even when I started writing, it was just a hobby. To be
Mhm.
honest, well, my wife was encouraging me, but I was telling her, "Come on, this
She
is a
saw
different."
something there you didn't.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she so she's and they as they say, behind every successful man there is a strong.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, she was. She's the reason, she's the
I'll
reason why
tell
I'm
her thank
torturing.
you.
Yeah, she's the reason why I'm torturing you guys with all my books. So, but then, without her, I wouldn't have discovered Wattpad, and without Wattpad, I wouldn't have
Mhm.
taken myself. I wouldn't have get this opportunity to be, commissioned for something, and
Yes.
that was one, this butterfly moment when
Yeah.
I received this check, which was a nice check, by the way, for short story.
Nice.
And come on, why don't you try, why get
Mhm.
yourself a chance and try to go and throw yourself. And 12 years later, I'm here with you.
Yep. There we go. Well, tell your wife thank you from your readers for supporting you in that moment and encouraging you. Palmer is here with us as well. Were your ears
Omar,
ringing?
we have been talking about you a lot,
Yes.
but we didn't mention your hats, by the way.
That's a miss on our part. We
Yeah,
apologize.
I really apologize for the terrible mistake. Yeah,
Yeah, we were diving into heliotrope, Palmer.
you have to
So
watch the episode.
there you go.
It'll give you suspense.
So to close us out here, because we're just over the hour mark, I do want to ask one final question for you. When your readers pick up your books, what do you hope they walk away with after finishing them?
What I hope they will. That's a very, very deep question. I would say,
It can be as simple as having fun.
but I guess all of I won't claim that any that I am having to be so many deep themes or philosophical. We just discussed our themes, and I think
Mhm.
they are common, and that's what I'm feeling. But my main because this is what I feel when I write
Mm.
is that my readers will feel this, enjoy their escapism,
Mm.
and have fun. Tales of Gorania, I was enjoying. I didn't write Tales of Gorania, for instance, to be a writer. I was just enjoying myself. I was
Yeah.
having this, shell above me, and was losing myself into this world. This is what I was
Mm.
feeling, and this is the feeling that I hope my readers will get away with. The same for War of the Last Day. The same for any story that I write. If by any chance you find any serious theme or any philosophical, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. But uh, because sometimes sometimes, some reviews, when I seriously, but I mean it. Writing a review is really hard.
Mhm.
I tried, to wear my reviewer hat, and
Yeah.
I have so many emotions about this book, and I want to express it, but I can't. I cannot. I couldn't. It's when I read. For instance, when I read like someone like Esme or Dominish, I don't know how,
Yeah.
or yours. How do you do this, guys? Because really, I did this because I wasn't aware. So I have to go back.
Right.
I have to go back and check what I have done. So because if sometimes I tell myself, if I'm going to write a review about my own work, it won't be as good as this, because I I don't know why anything of
You
this was intentional. I'm just
yeah. Well, when I do appreciate when authors are reviewing their own books and they're like, "I wrote it, I think it's pretty good, maybe read it." Like, I always love those ones. But yeah, reviewing is a lot because there's the fine balance of not spoiling anything
yeah.
for those who are coming across the review, so you can't go into major areas that might spoil it, but then yeah, you still want to put everything down. You're super excited about it. You want to write everything. I take notes while I'm reading to make sure that when I go back into writing my review, I have like my base notes, and then I can, flesh it out a little bit more and make sure I remove spoilers or anything like that. But yeah, there's a whole formula you learn when it comes to reviewing, from track how many POVs they are, track what themes, what tropes, what all of these aspects, and then that works out to be your base of your review format.
So there is a science for it after all,
Yeah,
because to be honest, and I love to borrow quotes from so many reviews, and I really contemplate them and I read more than once, because sometimes I appreciate the of course the nice words, but sometimes I myself I couldn't express it like that. For
yeah,
instance, I'm not just saying that because I'm with you, but this is the truth. One of you know remember, because War of the Last Day had this issue because it was a second series after after Tales of
yeah,
Grania, and the thing is, should I read this and should I read that? I One of the best I won't have to say the review or statement that I have seen handling this issue was the one that I read in a review, and I'm just
mm,
uh, I'm using it as my reference,
yeah.
because when I read that your review, I was telling myself I couldn't have said this any better to tell
There you
my
go.
readers. Yeah, I want
Yeah,
because I want to tell my readers a simple the simple conclusion. War of the Last Day, reading Tales of Gorana before, it's not a must. And in War of the
yep,
Last Day, you have references to the main events there. It's a very
yep.
simple, but it was in your review handled very smoothly.
Oh, thank
So
you.
so I admit that I borrow so many
Oh,
statements from you,
yep,
guys, and all the awesome reviewers there.
yeah,
I use them even in sometimes on my in my pitch when I want to pitch my story,
yes,
and
yeah,
when some, especially when they use references and
mm,
comparisons to
yeah,
relevant books. So how come I didn't notice that? I was like, okay,
yeah.
let's use it.
That's what they're there for, right? You're not going to be able to watch every piece of media and compare it with your writing. You're not going to be able to, and so that's the army of reviewers. That's what we do.
Reviewers. Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So no, I'm glad. I'm glad, and thank you so much for your time here today, Karim. Let's leave everyone off with one final thing they can look forward to. What is coming up next? Where can they follow you to find out?
So they can find me, I'm mostly active on Twitter.
Hmm.
Also, if you are interested to hear for news about me, you can find the link to my in Linktree. You have all the links necessary, but my newsletter I send like once per month. Not tending to spam your inbox, so unless I have so many urgent news, but it happens occasionally. I'm
Yeah.
working now on the second book on A Ballad of Vengeance, and maybe, and this is the first time I will say this, or maybe I have to wait until it becomes official, but maybe we might hear some big news in the coming weeks. So we shall wait. I guess we shall wait until it
Okay.
happens.
Yeah. So if everyone who's watching now or later wants to find out more about that, or, stay tuned to hear about this big, suspicious and mysterious news, all of the links to follow Karim will be in the description below. So definitely go check that out. Go check out A Ballad of Vengeance, his other works as well. Take a look. He's got, what did we say? Like 13 books to pick from. So
Uh, yeah, I was working on a guide how to choose from my books. I'm
yeah,
trying to make it visual, so yeah, I will post it soon.
there
So
you go.
I'm
All the
trying to
more
help
reason
you.
to follow.
I'm trying to help you guys. I don't know what else can I do.
No, you're doing a fantastic job. So, folks, go follow Karim. Make sure you are staying tuned. Check out his books. And thank you so much again, Karim, for a lovely conversation. It was wonderful to hear the process and just your experience of Canada as well. I'm happy it was a good one, apart from the weather, because we have no control of that.
Thank you so much, Kay. I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel it was just a casual conversation, and I really hopefully that I can see you in person if I come to Canada for any reason. So we
Yeah,
must
that would
meet.
be
Yeah,
lovely.
but not
Absolutely. It would
necessarily
be
in
a
the
pleasure.
winter. Not necessarily in the winter.
No, we'll put you through our torturous summers.
I, I'm not bringing anything new. I'm in the
No.
I'm in the summer right now, so
Okay.
or it's I will break you already broken. So
Yeah, there there you
so
go. Awesome. Well, cheers to that. And again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely, lovely day and happy reading as well. As always, take care of yourselves.
bye bye.